Established in the late 1870s and early 1880s, Globeville was supported by the industrial expansion, access to the Platte River, and the railroad system. When the town was annexed in 1902 to the city of Denver, it was formalized with the name Globeville, named after the Globe smelter. Industry has always been an economic driver in the neighborhood. While smelting was the first established industry, stockyards and meatpacking sustained the community as well. It is through this lens that the community grew. To paraphrase Daniel Deppers from 1967, the community developed inwardly. Workers walked to their industrial jobs, kids went to the local schools, and families bought groceries at the neighborhood markets. The Globeville neighborhood has always been socially cohesive, but isolated from the rest of the city. It is this separation that defined the community for generations to come.
In the 1950s, Globeville was chosen as the site for the intersection of the new interstate highways I-25 and I-70. The interchange, known locally as the Mousetrap, further segmented the neighborhood into 4 quadrants. The current boundaries of the neighborhood, as defined by the City of Denver, include historically industrial areas that are separated from the neighborhood's residential heart by railroads and highways.
Environmental quality has been a concern in the neighborhood for many years due to historic metal smelting, heavy industry, highways, and rail yards. These activities have resulted in poor air, water, and soil quality and increased odors and noise. The neighborhood has elevated air and noise pollution as a result of I-25, I-70, and freight trains, and causes additional stress and interferes with daily activities such as sleep and the ability to learn for residents. Because over 70% of Globeville is industrial and commercial businesses, unpleasant odors negatively impact residents' desire to be outside and remain physically active. The Carpio Sanguinetti Park, located in East Globeville, provides limited transportation access beyond private vehicles. This decreases the amount of people who end up visiting and frequenting the park. Recreation in the South Platte River, which runs adjacent of the park, is strongly discouraged because of reduced water quality due to elevated E. coli levels. There is a proposed plan to redevelop Terran Pond open space immediately north of the park in hopes of increasing connectivity through multimodal transportation access, recreational uses, and improved water quality. However, these improvements to the area may not reach their full potential because the park is located next to the Water Management Denver Recycling Center, which produces noxious odors. Globeville's industrial history has also resulted in a majority of the neighborhood's land area being deemed hazardous and contaminated by the Environmental Protection Agency as Superfund sites. A Superfund site is polluted land that's been contaminated by hazardous waste and is identified as a candidate for cleanup because it poses a risk to the environment and overall human health. Following a 1989 lawsuit asking for soil contaminated by lead, arsenic, and cadmium to be removed, the ASARCO smelting site was placed on the National Priorities List in 1993. The cleanup of this area, which includes both commercial and residential uses, was finally completed within the last 4 years. Despite the environmental cleanup, people in Globeville are still skeptical to grow food in the soil of their yards, contributing to the legacy of degeneration and distrust in governmental authorities to produce beneficial results.
The industrial impacts and economic stagnation that defined Globeville for decades have also preserved the neighborhood in some ways. The slow growth and limited change has provided housing stability for the neighborhood, and the sense of community is still strong. The residents take deep pride in their collective history, and the community has provided a sense of place for generations. The core of Globeville has remained intact. However, this stability is now being threatened. The new Central I-70 construction and inflow of development interest may lead to unintended consequences for the community. After 50 years of stagnation, there's a sudden attempt to bring the community back into the fold of Denver investment at a pace that community members may struggle with. This, along with recent efforts to clean up contaminated locations, may lead to further interest in redevelopment and economic opportunity. As Erica Meltzer of the Denverite stated, a recipe for gentrification is major public investment plus transit-oriented development in historically neglected neighborhoods, next to neighborhoods that are already gentrifying. This exemplifies Globeville today. But there's hope. The Globeville community is now in the spotlight and change is occurring. Now is the time to incorporate strategic planning and community engagement to ensure that these risks are mitigated. There are still points of intervention that would allow for development and improvements, but still ensure stability in existing communities. Planning strategies and innovative methods that allow for enhancements to housing and health are needed. but it is imperative that these solutions limit the effect of gentrification in order to allow Globeville to flourish once more.